Exe, welcome to the Nhlivo Actually Podcast. All grinders, we at it again, and today we have a special guest once again. He goes by the name Siyabulela Mokebe, and Siyabulela is a WITS graduate, a cum laude, person who's very much passionate about education and getting a good learning habit out there. Siyabulela is a full-time teacher. He's also got his side hustle going. He does his tutoring company on the side, and he's just a great person around. So I'd like to welcome him to the podcast. Siyabulela, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, brother. Let's take it to the education side of things. How did that become a passion for you?
Okay, so I think education for me, it's one of those things that I just encountered as I was going through life, right? Because initially when I finished my matric, when I went to WITS, I enrolled to BSc chemistry with chemical engineering.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, before doing a B.Ed. And then as I was busy with my BSc, so at WITS, we normally call it super chem. As I was busy with my super chem, I then started a non-profit organization, right? That non-profit organization, it was solely based on trying to alleviate the issue of school dropouts in LX. So we were tutoring medicine, science, and accounting, and other subjects as well. So it is through that, right, as I was busy tutoring every Saturdays and then trying to make sure that I develop some learning programs and all of that, it is then where I started developing love and passion for education. And I then decided to switch from Superchem to B.Ed, which is what I ended up graduating with.
Oh, very nice. Interesting. So Siyabulela is an author at the same time. Siyabulela has written 2 books. So I just want to show you guys one of his books. This is The Science of Learning, right? So from The Science of Learning, he also authored Tamanna for Change. These are 2 great books that we're going to be chatting about. Let's start with The Science of Learning, brother. Where did the idea initially hit you for this type of book?
All right. So like you specified that I'm a teacher. So what normally happens is that from time to time, I always find myself having to answer the same question over and over again. Sir, please give me study tips. Or how is it that learner so-and-so finds it easy to understand the concept, whereas I don't, right? So I thought to myself, well, why not maybe try and answer some of those questions, but through a book, right? So that's where the idea of this book came about. So I basically tried to use various materials so that I can try and develop something that resembles a book. So inside the book, it's where I try and deal with issues like how memory actually works, right? Yes, how memory works, time management, and things like politics of knowledge and theories of learning, which is some of the things that I learned in my B.Ed. Right, and which I thought were very, very important, especially in shaping my ideas and how I think of education. So I thought maybe that is also going to be important if I include in the book. So basically, the book is there to try and assist learners.
Basically, this is something that you'd recommend for students, whether high school all the way through tertiary, or anyone who finds themselves in a situation where they're pursuing some kind of formal education. This is something you'd recommend, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So now we want to touch the Tamanna for Change, right? Tamanna is a Indian Hindi word for hope.
Yeah, for desire.
Desire for change. Tamanna for change. So I want to connect this with your background and how you grew up. Sure. Yeah, we grew up in Alexandria, right? So we just want to give context to the socio-economic dynamics of the things that happen there that people that from outside of there are not aware of. So let's tell me about how you grew up and also connected to how you growing up shaped how you then turned that into this book.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, like you said, Skulele khona lapha Alexi. I grew up there, and yeah, I went to school as Zenzeleni, from Zenzeleni Itute, then Minerva. So, all right, when I was in grade 7, my mom passed away. Right, my mom passed away, and she was giving birth to my twin brothers. And then after giving birth, then she passed away. And then the following year, when I was in grade 8, my dad passed away. Right.
Condolences.
Yeah, thank you. So that, like, it changed my life completely. It changed how I view life, how I view people, my experiences with certain individuals, because people change when, I mean, you'll think relatives like or love all of you, but you find that when a certain individual is no longer there, the relationship changes, right? So I found myself having to rely on my friends as a support structure, because my parents were not there, right? And I wasn't that close to my relatives, right? So I had to rely solely on my friends. And by the grace of God, I had a teacher at Minerva who was there. I mean, she was there from buying me clothes to ensuring that I'm passing, to almost everything that you can think of, right? So she was there, and it's because of her. I mean, personally, I really didn't want to do anything after high school.
Yeah.
But because of her, I ended up doing well, because when I was in matric, I was the top learner. Yeah, right. Ellen Minerva. And thanks to her, because honestly speaking, I cared less about education.
Yeah.
And so in this book, before I go to the book, and then obviously because of how I grew up and the kind of traumas and painful experiences that I faced, there were certain traumas that I overlooked, right? That drove me into things like substance abuse without me realizing that these traumas are actually driving me towards this route.
It was a coping mechanism.
It was a coping mechanism, right? And for some reason, I was able to manage it with my academics, but there came a point where, like, things just started crumbling, and then things got so bad to a point where I slept even in hospitals because of these things, right?
Ugh.
I even went to a rehab center. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. To try.
So these were like deep substances.
Yeah, they were deep. Not really. I mean, it was alcohol. It's just that I drank alcohol to a point where I had something called alcohol hallucinosis. So basically, alcohol hallucinosis is you losing your mind because of drinking too much alcohol.
Wow, I didn't know about that.
I'd gotten to that point where I started seeing things.
Wow.
I started talking to people that were not there, and I started seeing things that were not there because I damaged my brain so much.
And you overcame all of that.
Yes. And then after that, it is after rehab. When I left rehab, I told myself that, I really need to do something, either to thank God or to thank my ancestors or to thank the people that helped me throughout this journey of mine, right? And the only way for me was to document that or to write that in a book.
And as a child who was in a child-headed household, it's tough to get that type of help from people, from anyone. People usually turn a blind eye. When you start losing your mind, everyone starts taking advantage of that, especially when we're in such a densely populated area like that. Everyone's concerned about their own next meal. And it's rather fortunate that you had people that were there for you and were able to pull you out of that situation, and you were able to go all the way to becoming a top learner, go all the way to University of Witwatersrand, graduate cum laude, and now you are one of the minds that we need to help refine the youth from Alexander. You've taken so many great steps, writing books geared towards them, helping them understand how to learn, as well as now telling them of your story and your perils and what you've gone through. It's very much inspiring, and I applaud you on that, and I hope you are blessed and keep going on this route. Right? Let's see what else we can share with our viewers. I feel like there's a lot we can touch on, man. Sure. Let's see. Yeah, so it's being a teacher, being a tutor, being an author. You wear so many hats, and I just want to know, how are you juggling all of that? But before we get to how you juggle everything, I also want to thank you for tutoring my niece last year. You know, I found you posted on Facebook and I saw it. You know, my niece had been failing out for 3 terms. Her mother wasn't well, so she was dealing also with that trauma. Her mother was in and out of hospital and everything, you know. So when I came across the post that you were tutoring maths and science, I was very excited because I needed some help in that department, you know. So yeah, she's in high school now. She made it. She passed her maths thanks to you. I appreciate that. And let's talk about your tutoring business, your side hustle, and then also talk about how you juggle so many hats.
Okay. So like I said, that initially I was just a tutor, having started or co-founded a non-profit organization for almost 5 years, running it there in LX. And then after graduating, I couldn't continue with it because the people that I was working with, they also graduated. We were doing various degrees, so we went into different fields, and we couldn't continue with the program anymore, so we then stopped. But obviously, because I still saw a need for me to do this thing, so I then and before I started tutoring, right, I thought to myself, oh, maybe I should try making videos, YouTube videos.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I tried that, and then after that, one learner said, "Say, can you please be my tutor?" Right. After watching a video, I then decided that, okay, since this is now taking me into tutoring again, I might as well just continue with tutoring. So I tutor, and I'm also someone who enjoys reading. I read a lot.
Avid reader.
Yeah, I read a lot and I write a lot. Where I work, one of the things that I'm known for is writing emails. I write emails. I write emails. I find it much more easy to express myself in writing, right? Especially if I'm not feeling well. Let's say, for example, I'm angry, right? I find it difficult to express myself without allowing my feelings to actually cloud my judgment,
overtake you, like that.
Overtake me or cloud my judgment. So when I'm about to write, writing forces you to think. So even if you're angry, you are forced to think, and whenever you write something maybe that is going to make someone else not feel well, you can see before you even send that. But
reading it back to yourself, you can see what it will evoke.
Exactly, you can see the type of reaction you're going to get. So so I love reading. And by the way, just a small story about writing. So when I was in grade 7, A2D, so there was this competition. So in this competition, we had to write books. So I wrote a book. This story is in my book here, Tamanna for Change. So I wrote a book. And so this book of mine was about a man who was So this guy was very old. And then the guy was dating a girl who was almost half his age. And this guy had a son. So this son and the girlfriend were almost the same age. And then,
Amazing.
Then the guy, the father ended up, so this boy, the son, ended up dating the stepmother. And then the father, saw that. And then eventually the father shot the guy. And then,
That's a story you came up with.
Yeah, in grade 7. so what then happened is that I gave it to my grade 7 teacher, my English teacher then, and he took the book to this competition, and my book was disqualified. Obviously, because the content
was not age appropriate.
but I mean, it speaks to the type of environment I grew
up in. Of course.
The types of things we are exposed in. I mean, growing up in a township, you get exposed to a lot at a very young age.
In close proximity to a lot of toxic stuff.
Things, yes. Yeah. So, obviously, those people didn't understand. But so I think my journey of writing started there.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So, okay, now I understand. You started with YouTube, then you were dragged into the tutoring thing because what's your experience? How much tutoring exposure do you think learners in Alexandra specifically have? Because one thing with growing up in that environment, I didn't have that exposure. I never had tutors or thought about that. And can't think of it, I had that type of guidance or attention, I think I could have done better than I did on my own. You know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, I think nowadays learners are much more exposed to these tutoring things. It's just that, unfortunately, they don't take advantage of them. I mean, sometimes, you know, it's not a matter of you maybe going to a place like a Tusong or a Sankopan or Kwalinda Twala, but having a neighbor who has passed grade 12, who has done science and mathematics or accounting, and you are a grade 11 learner, using that neighbor to your own advantage, it's something, right? And it's something that I noticed that learners don't take advantage of. So, for example, I still have friends, and my friends know that I'm a teacher, and their siblings know that I'm a teacher, but never would you find them asking me to assist them with anything. Even though sometimes a friend of mine will tell me that, hey, Ubanban, as I'm sure scale. But that person would never come
take that extra step.
You see, to say, please assist. So that's where the problem is. More than anything is that they don't want people to know that they don't understand, or it's as if they are ashamed of being ignorant.
It's a fear.
Yeah.
It's the comfort zone complex where
True.
I'm scared to take this step. I have a fear that I might be rejected. I might go up to him and like that, and he might give me an answer that will hurt my feelings.
Sure.
So there's this self-preservation when it comes to things that are positive, but when it comes to negative things, they don't have those boundaries.
Exactly, that's true.
It's crazy. It's crazy to me.
That's true.
Okay. Yeah. Now I get the exposure part.
Sure.
Let me see what else we can look at. Okay. Yeah. So I just want two things from the Tamanna for Change book, right? I want your favorite quote from it, from yourself, and I also want the takeaway that you want the reader to take away from the book as they are wrapping up on it. What feelings do you want to wash over them, and reflections and epiphanies that you hope they may have from this?
Chap. So, Tamanna for Change, firstly, one word that describes the book, it's great. Like, great is that word that describes the book. So basically, the ability to persevere, even when you see that, I icon, things are working against you, or they're working against your efforts, but to just push and push because you believe in your vision and you believe in your dream. I think that's one way to describe the book. And as for a quote, so in the book, I wrote a letter that I basically wrote after I lost a learner of mine, Grace in may his soul rest in peace. So I was asked to give out a speech in his memorial service. So after having written a lot of things, so there's this quote that I wrote there, which I took from advocate Moses Kakan, senior counsel. So advocate says that we must not only give justice to the people that we like. So even if you hate or you dislike someone, right, they also deserve justice. So by that, I mean, that quote for me, it was a very, very powerful quote, because it simply means that even if at work, right, you hate an individual, you hate so and so, I mean, if you know that they deserve a bonus, you should give it to them. Not because you like them, but because you know that they deserve it. If as a teacher, I hate learner X, but learner X has done their assignment and they did an excellent job, they deserve that 100%, even though I hate them. So I think it's one thing that resonates with the book, and it's one thing that has enabled me to be where I am, because I experienced a lot of rejection from the people that were close to me, the people that I needed, right, as a boy or in my teenage years. And the people that actually were there for me were people that wanted to help me because they knew that as a teenage boy, this person needs support, irrespective of the type of person that he is, or irrespective of whatever we think of him, but because he's a minor, he needs help. So, yeah.
It's being able to separate feelings and emotions and approach practically things without bias.
Exactly.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Yeah. Okay. I like that. And then as for the takeaway.
Yeah. So the takeaway is that, just to re-emphasize the point, the takeaway is that, I mean, even if now you're looking at whatever difficulty that you are facing now, and maybe it's financial constraints, maybe no one believes in your dream, or maybe this school thing is not working for you, trust me, for as long as you keep on doing it, God is going to connect you with the people that are going to assist you. No one, I mean, people will find you along the way.
That's true.
Yeah, you shouldn't wait say, I'll only start working if I get someone who's going to promise me funding, or whatever the case might be. You must start using the little resources that you have, and then people will find you along the way. And it is through you actually showing initiative and you actually doing something with nothing that people will actually see how hungry you are, and they'll then be able to invest in whatever that you're doing. So it's basically the take away of the book. Yeah.
I can do Yeah, getting yourself out there, making sure that you equip yourself with knowledge on what you are interested in.
Sure.
Libraries are still open.
True.
The internet is there. There's so many resources, that are out there that just need the effort there. And I've realized the reading level, it's very disturbing.
Yeah.
I see it even like people I grew up with and I know in close proximity. Yeah. Like, we might be the same age, but they will not make it through a page of a book.
Yeah.
With the understanding as well. So I think applying yourself is so important, and bootstrapping.
Yeah.
Like we know the type of background we come from. We know. And you can't change it through wishful thinking. It's through grit. I remember I was reading a book by Angela Duckworth titled Grit. Sure. And they were running like a lot of tests, taking people there's experiments that were done where there was twins and they were put in different environments and monitored over the years, and just to see how an environment plays a part in someone's upbringing and how they can evolve, even though we tend to think it's in our DNA. Now they took the same DNA and threw it in different environments, and it proved that the environment is more influential in someone's becoming than their DNA. So I think that's a powerful sentiment to have. All right, I like that. Let's see what else we can touch base on. Okay, yes, perfect. One more thing that I wanted us to look at is I want you to give some, like, a message to your younger self. Right? Hey. Number 2, a message to the youth right now. Some words of wisdom, as they say on TikTok and stuff.
Okay. I think a message to my younger self would be that you don't have to try and seek coping mechanisms from substances and all of that. I mean, as much as you may have tried to express your frustrations or your grief or your pain or through substance abuse, you may have used other venues, right, instead of doing that. And forgive yourself, for having erred. Forgive yourself for the mistakes that you've done, and actually be grateful for the good decisions that you took. Even though I took a lot of bad decisions, but those 2-3 good decisions contributed in me being the person that I am today. And the message that I will say to the youth, especially people that are still at school, is that because now there's a lot of distractions. TikTok, YouTube. I started knowing about YouTube when I was at varsity level. There's YouTube, there's Facebook, there's all of this, and everyone seems to be an expert in something now. Everyone has a say in something, and it's very, very difficult to now know what is true and what is not. But all I can say is that do what is right, not because you enjoy doing it, but because you know it's right. Right? Yeah. If for you, abstaining, for example, from substances or abstaining from sexual activities, you think is a good thing for you to do it. Yeah. Not because everyone else thinks is a good thing, but because you know that it's good. Right? Because at the end of the day, whatever decision that you take now, after 5 years, you and only you should face the consequences.
You account.
You account. Yeah. You may not account a court or anywhere else, but your conscience will tell you that, hey, Pinji, you messed up.
That choice we made, that 5 minutes we spent.
Exactly.
Now we're living in a different future.
True.
Right?
True.
I the dynamics of the environment that we grew up in, the exposure. I remember in high school.
Sure.
Right? I wasn't taking anything seriously connected to school. Although I was a bright student, but I never leaned into that. I always leaned into things that were seemingly fun. Acting, drama, art. I used to be very good at painting and drawing and all that type of stuff. Had a very creative element, but also at the same time, I had that mathematics brain, accounting brain, business brain, For some reason, never took anything seriously though, because the environment I was in when I come back from school didn't support those things. What was supported was substances, girls, crime, crime specifically because there's things we wanted that we didn't have. So with me, I can half sympathize with your background and half empathize because I also lost my mother when I was 10 years old, right? That's where the empathize comes in.
Yeah.
But I still had my dad. And at 15, hanging with the wrong crowd, ended up with guns, getting them from the older guys in our situation, And I think walking away from that was one of the hardest things to do because now you've seen something. You can't just walk away after you've seen things, and having those tough conversations with people that I thought were my friends, but they committed to that lifestyle. They ended up in prison. One of them came out a few years ago after serving like 20 years, right? And that guy was who I hung out with daily, and after I served that sentence, I saw him, came up to me, said, first thing I just want to do is I want to apologize. I didn't understand at that time, because we had a huge fight to the point where they threatened to unalive me, because I didn't want to be part of what was going on.
Sure.
And they ended up committing crimes and ended up committing murder.
Yeah.
You understand? And those were the guys I was hanging out with after school.
Sure.
But school, I went to Santon View. So separate from all that drama.
Yeah.
Good exposure,
Sure.
good everything, good teachers, good infrastructure, everything. But the problem was when I came back home, everyone around me was up to something.
Exactly.
Yeah. So environment is very key. Environment is very key, and Alexandra is a very sticky place to navigate, and it's getting worse.
Yeah.
And to have, and everyone that can't wait to get out of there.
Yeah, that's
everyone that makes it
That's
can't
true.
wait to get out of there, and we are unplugging
It's true.
characters that could have been a northern star guiding light. So now you end up being a kid looking up. You don't see anyone can emulate or simulate and ask questions and engage with, even though all you're exposed to is everyone that's making the wrong decisions. So you won't feel as bad for making the wrong decisions if Uputabo up the road.
Yeah. And now, the thing is, if you're smart and you are in that environment, those very same guys that are doing this, they easily spot a brilliant young man that, all right, Tubanban, he's good. We need him. And if now you don't have any good role models, right? Or you don't have anyone pulling you towards academics or pulling you towards sport or pulling you towards good things, right? It's going to be easy for you, right, to be influenced by those people. And then by that, man, come this side. Yeah, but plus where now you need 1, 2, and 3. And a car, they can't buy it for you. And now you know definitely that you need these things. So why not come and
be one of
do?
us?
Yeah,
We'll take
do
care
what
of
we
you.
do, and then you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And now because we want to be part of something, you find yourself doing it, knowing very well that
This is not me.
this is not me. This is against who I am. This is against my philosophy of
Every
life.
fiber of my being is
Yes.
refusing this.
Exactly. But you end up doing it. And I think, you see, if there's anything that I hate about Ekasi is the fact that sometimes the people that experience the very same thing and have seen how evil the system can be, they then take that and want to plant it to the smaller ones or the youth.
Misery loves company.
Yeah, like you find that a person, a grotman nje, selling weed sharp, maybe that's your hustle. But for some reason, you now want this grade 10 learner to sell this weed eskolweni. Why? Why?
You're dragging him into your nightmare.
Exactly. Why? This is your hustle. We're not saying it's a good thing, but we understand that this is the life you chose. But what we don't understand and will never understand is you now taking whatever that you are doing and then you now introducing it to the person that we need. Because at the end of the day, we need each and every young person, Alex, to bring about change in that community.
That's true.
Yeah. And so for one person joining Inyaope or that one guy joining the crime life, we're losing out.
We've lost a lot.
Yeah. I mean, people complain about the brain drain when people make it and they leave. They forget about the talent that we're also losing from people joining crime and people using substances, because that's another way of losing. And people who are drowning in taverns, because the more crime that we complain about, the more taverns that people build us and more shipins. And those are also keeping people there instead of them sitting down and planning on things that are going to bring about change, not only to the community, but themselves. Instead, they intoxicate themselves from exene till late.
Crazy. So another two things, right? Growing up, I did have a guy that stayed around Deni that was a teacher, an art teacher specifically. And as I said, I was good at art. So I hung around with him a lot and used to show me a lot of stuff pertaining to art and how to refine it. And unfortunately, that guy went through a lot of stuff. He had a psychotic break. I actually found him unaliving himself right, from the ceiling with the rope. But I was just in time because I quickly called people and they were able to get him out before he passed, And then after that, he got sick, and then eventually he passed away. He wasn't in a good space, And then I went, another thing I want to touch on that's connected to that is what's your view on therapy? Because I bumped into therapy when I was doing my postgrad at UJ.
Sure.
Right? So, excuse me. So UJ has psych ed department. So that's where we go to find jobs and all these other things to find extra curriculum things to do with ourselves. So I went there one day, job hunting or what, and they do a great job. Those are the people who helped me find one of my first jobs at the same time. And then I was asking, what services do you have? Oh, they explained. And they said, we also have qualified therapists here if you want to book a session. I was like, why not? Book it. And it was quite interesting. And it made me learn a lot about myself going through that. And also I got to see what's the difference between having a conversation with a qualified person versus just having a conversation with your friend. Sometimes when you're trying to have that type of conversation, they also maybe not trying to open that festering wound. They might have the same wound, but manje, don't dredge this up. Some social too, Whereas when you speak to a qualified person, I was quite shocked. The person just from the tone of my voice could tell where I'm from, certain things about me. Just in a couple of sentences, a profile was, and they relayed it back to me with, based on how you talk, this about you. I was like, what's going on? So I want to know your views about therapy and whether you have had exposure with that, and would you recommend that, especially that I touched on someone that was trying to unalive themselves, especially men. How what would you say around those topics?
All right. So firstly, therapy is a very, very difficult thing for people to believe in, especially the people that I'm in my circle personally, right? Yeah, they don't believe in therapy. Therapy, it's as if we are tefa or cherry as a guy, mozo hambi therapy. So, but personally, I also didn't believe in it. I don't want to lie. And for some reason, I was always pushed into therapy. But I never really believed in it. Even if sometimes I go there, I'll just go there for the sake of finishing the session and that's it, right? But up until, my good exposure with a good therapist was when I was in rehab. Because in rehab you are forced, it's not it's a must that Baba, you must go and see that therapist. And then it is there that I actually learned a lot about my past traumas and the type of effect that they have in me and my behavior and a lot of things about me, right? And through that, the therapist then connected me to a psychiatrist, where I was then diagnosed with some major affective disorders, right? And then I started taking medication for that. Also, I wasn't believing in those things. I was like, but ever since I started taking those things, I saw a huge difference in my life. For example, I still find myself in the same space with the same type of people that I was doing a lot of things with. But there's no way that I'm going to find myself being tempted maybe to do those things that I used to do. No. Because the therapy sessions that I had there, they actually made sure. And I mean, even after the rehab experience, I still had contact with my social worker, and from time to time we would talk. And then if I needed to see the psychiatrist, I would also go to the psychiatrist. So all in all, just to go back to your question, I think it's something that is important, but also something that is not understood. So people have opinions about therapy, but they don't understand the power of it. And trust me, it helps and it works. Yeah.
Powerful stuff. Because I believe you failed to the level of your systems.
Yeah.
So if you don't have any systems, you're gonna hit rock bottom.
Sure.
Right, because that's the importance of having routines in place. That's the importance of having a support system. And there's some things you can't talk about with your friends and your family.
Yeah, that's true.
So you need an additional ear that you can pour into, and that those people help you compartmentalize certain things and also help you shape your thoughts around them, whether turning those negative thoughts into positives or help you create coping mechanisms that are outside of that. True. And what was important for me, I think, after matric, I didn't study. I was home, and while I was home, one of my good friends passed away, and around that same time when he passed away, due to like a violent crime, that is what put certain things into perspective for me and helped me make real decisions around my life, you know, because I had to ask myself really deep and serious questions, as well as I'm grateful to have had my sister around for me, who also asked me deep questions about my future. Uchi, what is it? What are you planning? What is the plan for your life? Because this freestyling you are doing will not bear any fruits, you know. And she said to me, any support you will need, I'm there for you, but I can't take the steps for you.
Yeah.
Right. I remember vividly, I went to the internet cafe, I sat down, I pulled up all the universities in South Africa, put them there, made a list of all the addresses, contacts and everything, and then made a decision that I'm going to apply to all of these, and no matter what, I'll go wherever, you know. And fast forward, I ended up in KZN, knowing no one there, just me, you know. I show up with just my bag and trying to figure out life. And that experience shaped me more than anything, because as I got there, I had to make new friends. I had to adapt to a new lifestyle. I had to learn how to speak like them as well, you know, because this is Zulu Sasekasi.
That's fun, yeah.
Now, Sangara, it's not the same thing. So I treasure that. I started playing sports, whereas sports was something I always avoided growing up, you know. I started playing sports, rugby specifically, and having positive role models around me. I mean, had coaches, had trainers, had free gym access because you're part of the first team and all of that stuff, you know. And when I came back at Kasi, my mind was already, I was there physically, but mentally, you could say anything to me. You could put any substance in front of me. I'm not shaken, because I know I got to see a glimpse of who I really am.
Sure.
And what a different environment can do for me and how much I can thrive from that.
Sure.
You know. So I still go back to saying environment is so important. Yeah. So I want us to do some closing words, right? So once again, I want to share your books.
Sure.
The Science of Learning, right? Tamanna for Change, Desire for Change. These are Siyabulela's 2 books, and they are available, right? And I saw Tamanna for Change, Amazon, and other online ebook platforms, right? And if someone wants a physical copy, can they obtain that from you directly?
Yeah, from me directly.
Okay, so I want you to share with our people where they can find you and how they can gain access to your books and how they can gain access to your tutoring services. And also, I want you to share some parting words as well.
Okay. So they can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, YouTube. Okay. Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. They can find me. My name there, Sabzin Mavato.
Sabzin Mavato, yes.
And then on YouTube, Siyabulela Mokebe. And maybe if they want, obviously, to get these books from those various ebook stores, they can check out my name or search my name on Google, Siyabulela Mokebe, and then they'll find all those stores there. And then what else? Parting words.
Yes. So your tutoring, how can they reach you? Your phone numbers, contact, email.
Okay. And then as for tutoring, okay, they can WhatsApp me directly. It's fine. 068 085 5073. Yeah, they can WhatsApp me, or they can maybe inbox me in my
on your socials.
Yeah, via socials. They can inbox me and then email, Mokebe Siyabulela@gmail.com.
Nice.
Yeah, Mokebe Siyabulela@gmail.com, and then I'll give them whatever information they need about how to get me so that they can get books. But if maybe they around Alex, a friend of mine, Mzu, can also Mzu is an artist. I'm a piano artist.
Okay.
So, yeah. So sometimes he sells some of my books. So if maybe they can find him, because he's much more easier to find.
He's more accessible.
He's more accessible.
Where can they find him?
My socials. I mean, they know him. Mapula. The hit song Mapula. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, nice.
Good friend of mine.
Yeah.
So yeah, they can get some of my books from him, and then yeah.
Fantastic.
Sure.
And then parting words for our people.
Sure. So all in all, before we even do that, I just want to thank you for affording me an opportunity to actually come here. I mean, it's a good thing, you know. You could have chosen any other person, right? But for the mere fact that you thought of me and you took the time to write to me and make sure that I avail myself, I have to thank you for that.
You're welcome, brother.
And parting, all I want to say is that sometimes we must do good things, not because it's fashionable to do good things, but we do good things because no one else is going to do them other than you. I mean, if I'm someone's dad, right? If my son wants to get married one day, the type of girlfriend that my son is going to get is going to be shaped by my world, right? Yeah. If I don't fix the type of world that I'm in right now, my son will marry someone not good, right? Because I didn't contribute in actually making sure that society is good and positive and it prospers. So we must do good things because it is necessary for us to do good and ethical things.
Character is what you do when no one's looking.
True.
Right. True. Men of high value, high character, high everything.
Yeah.
That's what we need. And also, you can check out some of his other interviews that he's done on YouTube. Yeah. Just by searching him, he's been on ENCA, he's been on most of the news outlets,
SAPC.
Right? Yeah, SAPC news outlets. So yeah, check him out and read the books. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. This has been The Grind on the Nhlivo Actually Podcast, and we hope to see you again soon for another episode. Till then, stay safe.
Thank you.
Excellent.